Good afternoon. Appreciate everyone making themselves available. Today, always a tough day. I think a lot about our student athletes and the impact this will have on them. They've put an incredible amount of effort into trying to create success in the football field, and in so many ways, I think they've distinguished themselves by really creating a culture of toughness and accountability, and I'm proud of them in so many ways. And it was apparent when we met with the team this morning that these decisions land with impact, and I'm thinking about them and encouraging them to keep their focus on CSU and what's ahead. And they need all the support they can get, particularly from those in the community that care about CSU football. Next I think about Coach Addazio, Steve and his staff. These decisions are hard. It's never fun to change the trajectory of other people's lives. Fort Collins is a great place. They were loved, this part of the community, and so there's change there for them that they've got to deal with, and appreciate the work and effort that they put into the time that they're here at CSU. But where are we now? Obviously, we had those tough conversations, and you kind of turn the page and shift gears and start thinking about the future and what's ahead. And what's ahead is what I've always felt is ahead for Colorado State football, and that is a bright future. I'm really excited about the interest we're already seeing in the job. I'm excited about the foundation that's in place. I believe in the building blocks of the culture that have been assembled, and I think it's going to be a great platform for a new leader to come in and build upon. So I'm excited about that. As we look to that future, I think also about the process, and look forward to that. We've already assembled a small search committee internal to the institution. We have already worked on engaging a search firm, and we've already started to put a candidate pool together. As far as the timeline, it's kind of difficult sometimes to commit to exactly what's going to transpire, but I told the team today that this is something we're going to do with urgency and intention, and we're going to work hard to identify someone that is going to understand who they are, want to create genuine relationships with them, views this opportunity as one of the best things that they've ever experienced in their career, and really wants to embrace the opportunity to be a part of this community and help our students learn to win and win enough that we're earning championships. So happy to answer questions.
Joel, what led you to this decision today?
Not any one thing, Mike. You start trying to do a full 360 of a program and consider all aspects of it, and saw a lot of progress. But a lot of times, especially this year and even last year, the progress wasn't necessarily measurable from an external perspective. So that makes it difficult. We're always trying to stay engaged with our fans. But like I said, not any one thing. I saw many positives and a great trajectory as it related to building a culture of toughness and accountability. But we're also, about winning and putting a product on the field that keeps people engaged with our football program.
Several weeks ago, on the podcast, you talked very, strongly about line continuity and, moving forward. Just what did start to turn that and make you think that maybe that wasn't the right thing?
Yeah, Kevin, that's what makes these decisions so hard, because you're trying to really understand where a program is at a point in time, and there were things that I felt that were really good, and also, just concerns on our ability to close out games and win. And it's a razor's edge sometimes, but ultimately, you have to sit down and think through things and kind of understand where you're at the moment and make tough decisions. And we made one today.
How much did booster fan feedback play into this?
Fans are important. They support the entire effort that we're doing, and so they're important. But they also don't understand necessarily all the time the depth of and the complexity of trying to build a program. And I don't think sometimes our program needs to be better, and I respect their thoughts on that, and we will be better. And I appreciate them in every way, but they weren't the decision-making factor. But certainly we want to keep people engaged with our program and have hope. And experience leads to kind of belief, and I think the last 2 seasons we just didn't give them experiences that led to a lot of belief.
Within the coaching search this time, is there anything different you'd like to prioritize, maybe ways you'd like to go about the process differently?
I think last time around we got very focused on someone with head coaching experience and kind of zeroed in on someone who had A5 experience, and I think in many ways that was the right approach. But probably not. I mean, I want to, really approach this with a very open mind and really do our best to cast the net far and wide and, determine, who's going to be the best person to take over, I think what is a very solid culture in the locker room. I want someone that's going to view themselves as a culture builder and a committed educator and understand that this team, the individual students on this team are working hard and they want to prove themselves. And I want the next coach to be willing to give them a chance to do that.
About how long did you talk to the players today, and how would you describe the tone of that conversation?
I think we were probably together for 20 to 30 minutes. That conversation is going to continue. I've already reached out to some players individually. We've got some time scheduled with some smaller groups. The tone, that's what's crushing. If it were up to them and they were making the vote, they would have, I'm sure, made a choice different to what we made this morning when we made this decision. So that's what's hard, and that's what's difficult, and that's what the fans sometimes don't see and understand.
What would your message be to recruits who are committed to play for this football program right now?
People are institutions and athletic departments and football programs are about people in place, and I still believe that we've got the best of both. We've got an incredible place, and we've got incredible people that help support the effort and want us to be great. And so I'd encourage those students to keep their focus on CSU.
Does the buyout from Coach Adazio's contract put this athletic department in a financial pinch at a time when you're trying to recover from a lot of those COVID losses?
Last year, everything that was impacted by COVID was contained in our last fiscal cycle. So that was good news for us, and that's what we wanted to do. We really wanted to work hard to kind of bridge the gap and not create any long-term overhang. And so we were very focused on cost containment last year and managing our budget in an appropriate way. So we finished within plan. This always presents challenges. I mean, it's not a trivial number by any means, and it'll be stretched over the remainder of what was Coach Adazio's employment agreement. So we've got 3 years to manage and mitigate it.
Joe, were there any boosters that have stepped up to offer to pitch any of that in or anything like that?
No.
And the timing, obviously, today is when the buyout dropped. How critical was that to the timing of this announcement?
That's the one thing that I could control that lessened the financial impact to it.
What are some of the turning points for you during this season that you maybe started thinking about this? And additionally, how much did that ejection at the end of the season perhaps factor into this?
The ejection played really, in my mind, no role. One thing I deeply appreciate about Coach Adazio is his passion, and I think he advocates for his players and his team. And although it's unique to football, we see coaches ejected in all of our sports. Not often, but it does happen. We had one last spring, and in a Olympic sport program, and I dissected that pretty carefully, and feel comfortable that that he was advocating hard for his players.
Joe, you said you've already hired a search firm. Can you tell us which one?
It's Collegiate Sports Associates. Yep, Todd Turner's group.
Have you used them before?
Have not, but I've had a long-term relationship with Todd.
What's their role in this process versus your role in your involvement?
Yeah, what I like about Todd is that he was an on-campus practitioner You know, he served as an athletics director at many stops at the A5 level, and I think he's got strong acumen for the space. He's been in the space recently. He helped with, I think, 4 searches this year already, and so he's got a good handle in the marketplace. And what will they do? They're going to help us assemble our initial candidate pool. They're going to help us vet candidates. They're going to give us some guidance and insight as to, you know, each of those people, and they'll do all the logistics of setting up interviews for us and just kind of help build that path, you know. But ultimately, the decision is going to be made by the institution and leadership here at the university.
Joe, you made clear 2 years ago that Power 5 experience was the most important thing. Is culture and maybe familiarity a more important thing this time? I don't want to exclude anyone, but finding that fit on all facets.
I think culture building is, in my assessment of everything that I've ever witnessed for teams, it's that piece. You know, the football locker room is 115 plus students. You know, they all have, you know, different thoughts and expectations on what the experience should be for themselves. And so it's a challenge to try and channel all of that energy into one focused effort. And to me, that's culture. And so that's an important piece of it. So, you know, I want, you know, and I think we can find that from someone that's, you know, really coming out of any level of college football role-wise. Certainly, you know, if you can find it in a head coach, what I like about a head coach is that they've been faced with every decision that's going to come across their desk, you know, whether it's related to personnel, you know, as it relates to staff, when I say personnel, or students. And some of those, you know, many of those decisions have impact, like I've already kind of talked through, you know. So they're not easy conversations to create, but, you know, when you've been in that role, it's easier to assess and understand when you need to have those kind of conversations.
Joe, you talked about timeline, you don't want to put yourself to too tight a schedule, but obviously there is that early signing day coming up, which has kind of become the main signing day for college football. How
Yep.
much do you look to that and try to make sure you
Yeah.
aware of that and have?
Yeah, I mean, that you know, that's how you know, that's the first thing on our minds as we kind of build the timeline. You know, how can we, you know, get in the market, make our assessments, you know, get those conversations going, and make a decision so that we can take advantage of that early signing period.
You were doing this just 2 years ago. I guess how frustrating, what are your emotions that you're back here?
Yeah, I'm disappointed. You know, you know, this wasn't the outcome that I was expecting, wasn't the outcome that I was looking for. But, you know, the timeline has been compressed, I think, in a lot of ways. You look at what the expectations are across the country for program success, and you know, but you have to balance that towards, you know, the work at hand. You know, these aren't easy jobs. But yes, I mean, I'm disappointed. You know, this wasn't my expectation that we'd be back at this point 2 years later.
Joe, was this your decision alone, or was there a lot of other collaboration from others, maybe Joyce's office and/or
You know,
Chancellor's office?
yeah, you can't live in higher ed and not have conversations and collaboration, but ultimately this is my decision.
Joe, you've mentioned the fans a lot. Obviously, the second half of the Saturday night game, the stadium was pretty empty. Was that hard for you to see in that going this decision? at all?
No, you know, no. You know, I mean, you know, you know, our late November games, particularly those games that are either bookend the front end of fall break or the back end of fall break, you know, we just have been recently not in a place where we can expect that our fans are going to engage. I mean, students are off campus. Student support was incredible for the first half of the season. And, you know, all those students that would have been in the stadium or chose to be a part of the experience at the Nevada game were having Thanksgiving weekends with their folks.
Joe, again, where did you think this fall, as you evaluated it, they went off the rails? I mean, we can say climb after November, we can see the results at a point of it. And how much did some of the off-the-field news at the start of the tenure that you probably didn't see coming, and all the weirdness of 2020 set this administration back when they had to look at this one?
Yeah, you know, I think that's one of the things that probably, you know, made it really difficult for Coach Adazio was just some of the things that were occurring around him, that many of those things were outside his control. You know, I think that did not help with people understanding or being able to engage with who he is as a person. You know, they consumed, you know, a lot of what was to be known about Steve through, you know, the lens of the media. And, you know, I feel bad about that, because if you spend time with Coach Adazio, he's a good guy.
Steve, Joe.
Yep.
I obtained a report this week, including an incident with Steve and a custodial member that the CSU's investigators called problematic. You know, were there any concerns about, you know, his interactions with overall people working at CSU that played a role in this?
You know, I can't really speak to specifics. You know, you have that. There was no findings. You know, it really didn't play a role in my decision as it relates to Coach Adazio today.
Joe, the next head coach, if he doesn't have head coach experience, are you able to accept that, whoever that person may be?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think there's a lot of different pathways to success. So, you know, if we feel really comfortable with someone that we feel has all the leadership acumen and skills and ability to connect with students and mentor them and serve as kind of their primary contact on campus as they kind of guide through, you know, this stage of their life, then absolutely.
How much do you want this person to be here long term? I mean, do people look, I mean, on the outside, what do people say about CSU from what you know? I mean, is it a stepping stone job? Is it something that they'd like to be here long term? What are you getting at?
Yeah, I think the compensation structure in a lot of ways kind of sets that up. You know, I think it takes probably a very unique person in the space of college football to come to a place like this, even though it is amazing and, you know, well-resourced for our peer group, and think that if they're going to have success, particularly if they're at the front end or middle of their career, that this is going to be the last place that they're going to be. That's one of the things that the students talked a lot about today when we met with the team, was just, you know, they don't want to cycle through coaches. You know, they'd love to see someone come in and stay and invest in their lives. And, you know, so that's one of the things that was appealing to me in our search 2 years ago, is to try and find someone that could do the job, but likely was going to stay here.
Joe, not every AD gets to do this twice in 4 years because of the pressure to win. Do you feel pressure to, air quotes, get this right, get this fit for your legacy as much as the university?
I feel pressure for our students. You know, I mean, I want to make this the best experience they can possibly have. You know, I'm incidental to the process. I'm incidental to the outcome. I mean, this is about our students.
What would your message be to the fans that are frustrated with the results on the field the last few years, and that you guys are going to get it right this time?
Message to them is that, you know, we can't do it without them. You know, and it's something that we all have to roll our sleeves up and make a commitment to this place. And, you know, we're never going to be satisfied until we're earning championships, but a process is a process, and it's hard to put a timeline on it. So patience and commitment and, you know, being a true stalwart Ram is going to be important to this and our overall success.
You said you've had a lot of interest already. Can you give a ballpark idea of how many agents or coaches have reached out to you in the last 24 hours?
I haven't had a chance to really focus on what might be, you know, chatter in my inbox and things like that, you know, but you know, we've had an initial conversation this morning with the person, you know, Todd, who's advising us, and kind of started talking about, you know, what the characteristics of a successful head coach might look like, and he had thoughts and suggestions, and I do know that there's been a lot of interest, but I couldn't tell you how many people thus far.
Do you have an ideal, like, number of finalists that you'd like to be, you know, picking from, or does it kind of depend on who is involved?
Probably a little bit more on who's involved. You know, you know, you want to keep it broad enough that you feel like you're getting a good understanding of who's available and accessible to you, but you don't want to overwhelm yourself, so it's difficult to make a choice. So you got to have some discipline as you know, build the candidate pool and really give thought to who you want to be a part of that.
Do you have any play style that you are hunting, or again, just, you know, leave it broad right now?
Probably broad. You know, I think, you know, balanced offense is always nice, maybe a little bit more lean to pass versus run. You know, I love, in many ways, you know, what was shaping up defensively for us, and I thought, you know, offensively there were some really incredible bright spots, you know, even this season. You know, I'd like to find someone that would be willing to kind of build upon what we've already put in place in the last 2 years. So, but you know, we're going to find the right person regardless of style of play.
Joe, when you make that decision, how much, are you going to take Todd's recommendation or just use it as a resource?
You know, Todd's a resource. You know, I mean, we even had kind of some discussion about, you know, when he's involved and when he's not involved, and you know, so I think at the end of the day, you know, we're gonna, you know, look to some of his advice, but we've got some great people that are going to serve on that search committee that can help navigate some of those things.
What did you learn from 2 years ago, given all that, having gone through that once, and obviously you had a very, very high-profile consultant who probably is going to take a hit today from this too?
I mean, you're always constantly learning. You know, I think go with your gut. You know, try and keep your focus on what you think is the successful profile, and you know, really, you know, like I said, I think a few times, just keep a strong focus on what you think the students are going to need and respond to.
Does this decision change your pursuit or willingness to look outside the Mountain West in terms of where the future of the CSU program lies, especially football?
No, you know, we've got a desire to play at the highest level of college football, you know, and I don't know what timeline that might unfold as it relates to opportunities to contemplate that type of a decision. You know, as I've always said, you know, our focus is on our current peer group, but, you know, we're going to pick up the phone whenever it rings with, you know, thoughts and conversations about other opportunities. You know, I think it's been pretty well articulated kind of what might be happening as it relates to, you know, additional conference realignment, and I think there's a little stability in the system for the next couple of years, and then you know, possible change after that.
At what point in the season do you think we might need a new head coach moving forward?
You know, it was after we finished playing. You know, I mean, I really try and keep my focus on allowing whoever's leading any program, football or otherwise, you know, give them a chance to create a full body of work before I kind of start thinking about, you know, what may be ahead as it relates to, you know, continued path or change.
Joe, along those lines, just how much was kind of the trajectory during the course of this season? I mean, at one point this team was 3-3, unbeaten in the Mountain West, had played Iowa tough on the road, to finishing the season with 6 straight losses, the last 2 really kind of by fairly significant margins. Or, I mean, Hawaii was a comeback, but.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, that was kind of just the ebb and flow of the season that I think everyone experienced, you know, the team most importantly, and then people that care about the program, you know, the coaching staff. You know, certainly I was, you know, and I know hope's not a strategy, but, you know, I was looking for some indications towards the end of the year that we could find what we had in the middle of the season, and didn't quite get there.
Obviously, transfer portal always is popping around college football. Did you kind of ask guys to at least wait and, you know, see who's next before maybe, you know, deciding their future?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's a lot of people in the team room that were vocalizing their pride and culture, and I said that's what you need to lock into at this point in time. You know, you just got to understand that, you know, this change is hard, transition's difficult, but, you know, you care about each other, you know, the person left and right of you, and they really want to play and improve together. So that's what I definitely encourage them to do, is, you know, keep their focus on CSU and give us a chance, and give the next coach a chance.
Do you believe Adazio established a positive precedence for the team?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you believe Adazio established a positive presence to the team?
I do. I mean, you know, I mean, through the lens of a football team, I mean, I think Coach Adazio drilled in deeply with these kids, with these young men. You know, when you expand it out, you know, I think, you know, obviously everyone else has thoughts and perceptions that may be different from our team.